Mitchell McCormack, it is such a pleasure and an honor to have you on my podcast today. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here because I know you have so much going on in your life and you're so busy. So thank you. I just love it when people take the time out of their day to share their message with the world.
Thank you, Sandee. It is an honor to be here. I'm super excited, and yeah, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. I couldn't wait for this day. So what a great way to spend Valentine's Day.
I know, right? I totally forgot about it because, it's like, oh yeah, it's Valentine's Day. And on that note, this won't be released obviously today, but it is Valentine's Day. And I'm just going to say to all of these people out there, Valentine's Day is really about loving yourself. So no matter what day of the year it is, you can always celebrate Valentine's Day and love yourself. So on that note, I love what you're doing. You and I are in a couple of groups together with the Mentor Studio, and you always show up for Speakers Theater on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And I love your energy. And I love that you are so much about investing in yourself. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But just for those of you who don't know who Mitchell McCormack is or haven't read the show notes, you are the founder and CEO of the Sketch, Sculpt, and Sell Glassblowing Mastery Academy. And I love that because your mission is to inspire individuals, both in their hobbies and full-time artists, to refine their glassblowing knowledge and skills to build a one-of-a-kind product, as well as construct a business that will last. So it's so amazing what you are doing. And we talked a few minutes before I hit the record button. And I want to dive into not only, having art as an hobby and what that can do for you, but that you really can turn it into a business. So thank you for what you're doing and sharing this knowledge with the world. It's incredible.
Yeah, thank you. It's, I have been really fortunate, right, to be a glass artist my whole entire life. I started when I was a little kid, and I have wanted, obviously life goes up and goes down and goes up.
Yep.
And,
it sure does.
I've experienced some really, really intense hardships, but I have been very fortunate to be able to stick with my craft. It is what I wanted to do. And, I feel like with Sketch, Sculpt, and Sell, it's now a responsibility, right? To be able to show people that, they too can do whatever they want. And, I think I grew up with so many people saying that, oh, it's not a real job and this and that. And I heard that a lot. And it was very discouraging at times. But I think the more we move into these newer times, I feel like we're jumping into, right? People are realizing anything is possible. I can live the life I want to live,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's really exciting, especially with everything going on. How it's just funny to see how many people are gravitating to that mentality. How many people are starting to understand, oh wow, I can do this and make money and make a living and do what I want, when I want, where I want. It's very exciting.
Yeah, it sure is. So tell us your backstory. How did you get to where you are today? Because we all have a story, and I love to share my guest stories with the audience because that's how we learn. That's how we grow, is learning from other people, right?
Right. Absolutely. So where I got, how did I get to today? That is the story. I'm going to give you the full run through, right?
Okay, perfect.
I started when I was 12 years old. That's when I first found glass, right? I was obsessed with it. I was this weird little kid who was always at this glass blowing studio, not really going to school. I grabbed a broom and started to sweep the floors. And I asked them to teach me. And it was about 13, 14 when I started to really get into it. By 18, I was doing it full time, which I was really excited about. I had moved from Dallas. I'm from Dallas. I had moved to Austin. And throughout like my 20s and everything, you know, I was all over the place. I was in San Francisco. I was traveling. I was like, yeah, like living like a little hippie life, I guess. And then the recent years, so fast forward to recent years, right? And this is when the plot thickens, I suppose, is that I had gone through some really intense hardships. You know, and this is kind of like what I tell people too, is like, you know, it's possible to think your way into being a starving artist. You know?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, my life really it was full of negativity. It was really full of negativity and negative people. And it was just a constant fight, right? It was just like everything. Anyway, I was at the point where I had thought my way into being a legit starving artist, and I was homeless. And that's when I just figured out, you know, everything's got to change. Everything's got to stop. I need to start doing things only for me, to benefit other people. That's really the only way I can explain that. You have to be like selflessly selfish, I guess. So
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So after this big shift happened, you know, in the recent years, I've been really blessed being a part of these great communities that you and I are a part of. Actually, that's when I met. That's when I actually became a part of the communities that we're in, such as the Mentor Studio. Was because I had met these amazing mentors while I was homeless and didn't know what I was doing, and you know, just had the gumption one day. I saw who they were. I didn't know who they were. I just saw they were doing better than I was. And, you know, asked them for some help, and it was amazing how that help was able to propel into the life I have now. And now, you know, I have a business. It's amazing. I'm living my passions. It's awesome. So.
Oh my gosh, that's such a great story. And thank you for sharing all of that, because I tell you, I think that any of us, and people don't realize that, because it doesn't matter that you have a steady job, you know, people can run into hard luck. And I think most people are this close to being homeless at any point in time. Yeah. It can happen very, very quickly. And so thank you for being vulnerable like that, because I know that that's not always an easy thing to talk about.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So you were talking about how people were telling you, you know, that's not a job, you can't do that. And it made me think of one of the worst limiting beliefs that I carried around from the 5th grade. And I loved art. And we had this project in art class here. So I'm in 5th grade, probably 10 or 11 years old. I always forget like how, because I was kind of on the younger end in school. So I was probably 10 or 11 years old. And I put my heart and soul into this project. And I was so proud of it. And I showed the teacher, and she took one look at it and she said, "That is terrible." And I don't even know what she said after that. So you can imagine what that did to a child, right? Being told that something was terrible. But what that did for me, because I have a very artistic, creative side, it, you know, destroyed my self-confidence, right? Because here it is, a teacher, somebody that you look up to, telling me that something that I did was terrible. And, you know, we all know art is subjective anyway, right? It's just all in the eyes of, you know, one person can pay $1 million for something. And I'm like, okay, it looks like a kindergartner painted that, but whatever, right? If you think it's worth $1 million, then that's your prerogative.
Yeah.
So I carried that with me for so much of my life. And, you know, because at that young age, you don't know what you don't know. And it's hard at any age to be told that. But, you know, I've since let that go, and it's definitely, and I hate to say the word bucket list, but it really is on my bucket list. I'm using air quotes here for those who aren't not watching, that, you know, that's something that I want to get into. It's just, I know my personality, and I'm somebody that it's all or nothing. And I need to make sure I have the time in my life to devote to it. And I'm just not there yet in my life, but it is something that, and you're inspiring me because of what you're doing and talking about what you're doing. So
Thank you.
When you had people tell you to circle back to the original thought process I was going here before I went on my tangent, when people told you that, like, how did you process that? And how did you get to a point where you were able to, no, that's not true.
Right.
Right.
Right. That's a really great question. I think, and looking back, it used to really anger me, actually.
I can imagine.
Because like, I feel like as the way I saw it, and the way it is, right? I was looking around with the perception that I am genuinely putting in, I'm like 18 years old. I'm already putting in years of work, right?
Right.
To learn something,
yeah.
Blood, sweat, and tears, and like all three of those, quite literally. And I think it would frustrate me, and it confused me. And I think this is that big confusion that I'm trying to eliminate, at least in what my passion and mission is in life, right? And it's teaching people. It's using glass, right, and it's using art. More of as a transformation process, right? Not just for the sake of just learning something and be done with it. It's like, wow, like you can do this. But just having the constant pressure of people telling you that negative thing, that you're doing something that's a waste of your time, is really how it translated. You know what I mean?
Okay.
How it can translate. You're doing something that's a waste of your time. And it was only a waste of my time because I thought that, and I had thought, it just took me into very dark places. So obviously, it does its damage. And I think a lot of people have that mentality that it's not a real thing. But then you look around and you say, wow, there are pieces going for millions of dollars, and people respect this, and people respect artists. And so you have this you have this dichotomy that's happening of just like, what? And you get very confused of the matter, I feel like. Yeah. Does that, I hope that answers your question.
Well, yeah, of course. And, so what do you do today? Because we all have that voice inside of us. So how do you deal with any of those negative limiting beliefs today? Because you don't have time for that, right?
I don't have time for that. You are correct.
No. So how do you in your mind, like, flip the switch from negative to positive? What do you tell yourself?
Yeah. And that I have to work on that every day too. And it's because we're constantly, especially because we all love to live in a very positive world, but it's just constant, there are things around us, right?
Right.
And, I surround myself, for one, with very different people. Right. I surround myself with people that respect what I'm doing, want to support what I'm doing, and want to, see me excel. Whereas, anytime I come across anything negative, I have realized that I don't automatically jump to negative solutions, whereas like maybe you get really upset. Just learning sometimes it's easiest to just walk away. And that trust in the universe, I feel like, is just you walk away. And then, you've made your decision and everything good will happen. And it actually does. It's hard. It's the only best way I can explain it. But just walking away from if it feels wrong, back off. Just go do your own thing. And it always works out. It really does.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Because I love to give the listeners a golden nugget, that they can apply to their life today, right away. So what I love about art is that it is such a way because when you're using that creative side of your brain that everybody has, it's a different side of your brain than the analytical side. It reduces stress. It builds your self-confidence. I mean, there's so many benefits physically and mentally. So how has that changed in your life? And how have you seen some of your students' lives change as a result of, using that creativity side of their brain?
Oh my gosh. Some of the transformations I've seen, it just makes me smile. It's awesome. It really is. It just keeps me like willing just to keep pushing forward, especially in business, in art, because I see this happening in other people. And it's funny because sometimes we can't see it in ourselves, right? But we can always see
Right.
it.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to brag on a student of mine, actually, for a second.
Please do. Yes.
Yeah, her name is Tracy Stuck. She is total rock star. And she's fairly new to art in general. Like she's made things in the past, but she dove deep with glass. It was really phenomenal. She works in finances, and she's looking to get out in the world and meet more people and just have more of a community, right? And I have had about 2 months of classes with Tracy. We do them once a week, right? We have 4-hour sessions, and then we have weekly masterminds, coaching calls together. It's very cool. So I've gotten to know her very, very well. And Tracy is, like I said, she's in finances, and now we're sculpting gnomes. In a matter of a month and a half, maybe about a month actually, she started being able to do it. And she bought all the equipment, and she's like turning her garage into a little studio. And it's so exciting to see how someone who had never thought about making art like this, especially something as intense as glassblowing. It's an intense process, but to see someone like believe in themselves and believe that this is going to change their life, right? And it fully has. Tracy and I are like, even as a beginner, she's learning the ways of like, okay, we're going to do some shows together. Then we're going to teach you business framework, and it's like, you're going to do this. Like, you are now becoming a glassblower. She's like, what? She's 55. So she's in her 50s. So it's crazy that, and it's just really amazing. It actually really it makes me almost emotional sometimes, because it's so inspiring to see that in someone dive so deep into something that they never thought before, and then excel in ways they never thought they could, and be amazing at things that not a lot of people even know is something you can do in the world. So it's exciting to see that spread of energy. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. And that's such a great example, because her day job is in finances, which is one side of the brain. Art is a totally other, and when you have an opportunity to use that other side of the brain, and I'm not a neuroscientist, but I've talked to some, and I've done reading. It really like strengthens your brain. Like, it's a way to improve memory loss and just strengthen how your neurons fire in your brain. So she doesn't even realize it, but she's adding years to her life, because she's reducing her stress. She's doing something that she loves. It's exciting. She probably has a new lease on life, like something that she's passionate. I mean, that's just, what a great story. Wow. Yeah. That's real. And well, the thing is too, that she's in her 50s, and like, it doesn't matter how old you are, right? You can do anything.
Right. Right. And it's really cool to see too. Like, her thing, she's sculpting gnomes. And it's funny because with the whole sketch sculpt and sell, I want to make sure people do what they want to do. Right. But like another student of mine, Angie, she wants to do butterflies. And it's like, of course, we all start off very small. We do the basics. We get it all out of the way. But it's so exciting to see people flourish like that. And you're right, too. I mean, taking something so like finances, just analytical, to glassblowing creativity, it's amazing to see that transfer. And that's the really exciting part about this type of art, is that you don't have to just be a creative. You can add you can add analytical and logical thought to the process of glass. And it's exciting because everyone can actually experience that. It's very neat.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. So where can people find you and learn about your courses if somebody is interested? Like, wow, let me check into this. This sounds really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So best ways right now are on Facebook. You can check out the Sketch, Sculpt, and Sell Glassblowing Mastery. Or if you text the word glass to 26786, That will get you registered into my 1 hour virtual intensive that I do every other week, where I explain more of the glassblowing process. For anyone who's interested, and if anyone's in the Orlando area, they can do one-on-one classes with me. And that's the best way to get a hold. I would definitely text the word glass to 26786. And that way we can actually stay in some contact. So that would be amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. I will make sure that is in the show notes. I just wrote it down to make sure. And here's the thought. So many people visit Orlando, take a break from Disney, and go do a class with Mitchell.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm actually in the process of moving studios right now. So I'm moving to a lot larger space to accompany more people. So it's really exciting. So on the Facebook page, I'll have where that's going to be. But yeah, if you're in Orlando, yeah, let's do it.
That's exciting. I mean, yeah, because that's like, I mean, you can plan like a destination, let's learn glass blowing, and we can take the kids to Disney World.
I love it.
That's awesome. I will make sure all of this is in the show notes. Mitchell, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been an absolute delight. I love what you're doing. One of these days, I'm going to take a class on glass blowing because it just sounds really cool. I was like, ooh, I'm thinking, would I do angels? I probably would want to sculpt angels.
I can help you sculpt some angels. That is for sure.
Yeah. I love angels. Yeah.
I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. All right, Mitchell, thank you so much for joining us today, and keep doing amazing things.
Thank you so much, Sandee. Thank you for having me. What a blessing. What an honor. And I'm so thankful.
Well, thank you to everybody listening today.